Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how the local elections are going to play out, in particular the Mayor of London contest. If Sunak has not called the election by the end of the next month, and how the Tories seem to be betting the farm on Susan Hall winning that London mayoral contest. If reports are to be believed, the Tories really are scraping the barrel of blind faith now. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So the reports of Tory shenanigans are coming thick and fast, and one of them suggests that Sunak's supporters are sort of hoping that Susan Hall can save the Prime Minister's skin by beating Sadiq Khan in London. So let's just go over why this is the worst plan ever. So first of all, the Tories did give themselves an advantage in the mayoral contest by changing the voting system. There was a supplementary vote system which allowed people to vote with their hearts as a first preference and then with their heads as a second preference. What this meant in practice was, let's say you're a Liberal Democrat voter. You could vote for the Liberal Democrat candidate as your first choice, but then sort of be aware it's between Labour and the Conservatives and go, yeah, I don't want the Conservatives winning. So then you could choose the Labour candidate as your second choice. The system was changed by the Tories to a straight first past the post system. The Conservatives are hoping that the progressive vote is split every which way, and the sadomasochistic vote is split between the Conservatives and Reform UK. Maybe a few associated also rans. So the change in system, yes, shifts the odds in the Tories' favour. How could it not? However, it doesn't make them likely to win. In fact, they are not going to realistically win at all. Let us look at the reality here. If we look at the last election in 2021, Sadiq Khan would still have won under a first past the post system. You know, when that contest took place, the Tories were enjoying their national vaccine bounce in the polls. In fact, the Westminster voting intention polls, not a happy place for Labour. The Conservatives were 11 points ahead. Khan still won. Still would have won under first past the post. Now, fast forward a few years, and the Conservatives do have one thing in their favour and several against. In their favour is that Khan has been mayor for like 8 years now. When a political leader's been in place for a while, voters do tend to get itchy feet, right? They start to wonder if maybe they want a change. But that's it. Despite the Tories' best efforts, Khan is not personally unpopular. He's just been the incumbent for a long time, and therefore dissatisfaction is likely to grow. But stacked against that are the problems for the Tories. First, Susan Hall is hopeless. Now, if you don't know much about her, I often think the easiest way to explain what Susan Hall is like is just go, do you know what Liz Truss is like? She's basically Liz Truss. You know, it's like they made Liz Truss their candidate. That's what they ended up with. Second, Labour are no longer 11 points behind in the national polls. They're over 20 points ahead. So there's way more support for Labour nationally, which can only help Khan this May. Because now it's not just Sadiq Khan, it's not just Labour in a Labour city, London. Labour's brand is now stronger. You know, we could also add in that not only have Labour built up that credible brand again, but the Conservatives have flushed theirs down the toilet. For this mayoral contest, the Tories have a terrible candidate representing a party that's got all the appeal of a fetid swamp. Then we should remember that Reform UK have built up a bit of a name for themselves since 2021. Now, I think that's probably going to have limited cut through in an anti-Brexit city, but still, it's still more votes that might otherwise have gone to the Conservatives that are now more likely to go to somewhere else. And when you stack everything up, you wouldn't just say the Tories can't expect to win. You would say it's got to be almost impossible. You know, the last poll that YouGov conducted, because so far I've just discussed things empirically, right? There have been polls, they're few and far between. The last YouGov poll conducted, was conducted in November? And it gave Khan a 25-point lead. Since then, there have been way more cock-ups from both the Tories nationally and Susan Hall locally. Don't get me wrong, Labour are taking no chances, they're not sitting back. They are loudly pushing the fact that Tories have changed the system, so people, you know, if they want to prioritise making sure Susan Hall is not let loose on the levers of power, You may have to think about tactical voting. But just the thought that some Tories are actually pinning their hopes on a Susan Hall win to help Sunak out just seems bizarre. It's not credible. As Adam Bienkov of Byline Times put it, I'm not saying Rishi Sunak is running out of ideas, but the current plan to save his premiership is to hope that Susan Hall turns out to be a secret campaigning genius. She's not. And what's particularly hilarious is that if Sunak's allies really are hoping for this major miracle, then presumably they're going to have to lend her lots of support. I noticed she was out and about with Mark Harper, the Transport Secretary, this week. Now, maybe what Sunak's going to have to do is get other cabinet ministers to go and campaign for her, to give her campaign as much help as they can if they're going to pin all their hopes on it, right? That can surely only work to get the hopes of other Tories up that maybe Hall can win. And because you don't have regular polls for the mayoral contest like you do for Westminster voting intention, maybe Tory MPs think they can be in with a chance, particularly as where you often do see polls for the mayoral contest, it tends to be by amateurishly bad pollsters. So sometimes they'll think they've got a better chance than they really have. So you end up with this situation where maybe Tory MPs think, oh, we could win. We might actually win this. So then what happens when the results are published, and not only have they had their arse handed to them across the parts of the country electing local councillors, but it turns out that not only did Sadiq Khan win, but won by a huge margin. Because if that happens, we're then back into worse results than expected territory, just like last year. And by the time May rolls around, there will still be time to replace Sunak, but the window will be much tighter. And I wonder if this could actually end up causing a knee-jerk reaction from MPs, putting their letters in, and all because Sunak's allies will have unwittingly raised expectations of what might happen in the elections, which are definitely going ahead in May. And it would somehow be fitting if the Tories accidentally brought Sunak down because of the stupidity of his own supporters. Especially hilarious if we can blame it on Susan Hall. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.